Have you ever wondered why a woman might feel angry with the husband she's loved for so many years? Why does love in marriage seem to fade away, replaced by disappointment, loneliness, and even resentment? It's a question many of us hesitate to confront, yet it's deeply familiar in long-term relationships. And the heartbreaking truth is, oftentimes we don't even realize that the reasons have been there all along, quietly chipping away at the foundation of love. But don't worry. Today, we're going to explore the deeper causes that make love in marriage feel strained. More importantly, we'll also uncover ways to restore connection, compassion, and love in every marriage. Stay with us until the end of this video to discover heartfelt, practical solutions that can help you and your partner navigate through these tough times and bring your relationship back to the path of happiness. Now imagine this. You've spent your entire life caring for your family, cooking, cleaning, managing everything at home, yet none of it is truly acknowledged. You've grown used to doing it all, and the longer it goes on, the more it feels like your efforts are just expected. This is why many women feel exhausted and invisible in their own lives. And then, as recognition fades, so does love. A husband might think that working to financially support the family is enough, but love and marriage are more than just financial responsibility. We all need gratitude, small words of thanks and appreciation in daily life to feel that we still matter. So what's the solution? It starts with a sincere thank you, with noticing and valuing even the smallest efforts. Recognition is not just about acknowledging the work, it's a bridge that reconnects us, that helps us see each other again with a heart full of appreciation. Once the home settles into routine, another feeling quietly takes its place. The sense that you're living with a roommate, not a husband. Conversations become brief, affection fades, and emotional connection slowly disappears. You realize that although you share the same house, your hearts have grown apart. This doesn't happen overnight. It's a slow process. In the early days of marriage, everything felt fresh and exciting. But as life becomes predictable, we often forget that marriage also needs love, attention, and little moments of tenderness to keep the bond alive. So how do we bring that spark back? Don't wait for grand gestures. A simple dinner out, an honest conversation, or small acts of care, just like when you first fell in love, can do wonders to rebuild that lost connection. But sometimes the feeling of distance doesn't come from a lack of affection. It comes from unresolved conflict. Small arguments, unspoken disappointments, they build up over time and leave deep cracks. And when we avoid facing these issues, love and respect slowly start to erode. You might think, let's just leave it, it's not important. But that silence can be one of the biggest threats to a marriage. An apology is never too late. If we don't deal with conflicts when they arise, they linger, creating more and more distance. Think about it. How does someone feel when they can't express their needs? Don't wait until the problem becomes too big. Speak up when you feel unhappy. Only by facing and resolving issues can we breathe new life into the relationship. And as time passes, both partners inevitably change. Women, especially as they enter new stages of life, may want to rediscover forgotten dreams or embrace new chapters. But if a husband stays stuck in old habits and doesn't walk beside his wife through these changes, that gap will only widen. Now, it's no longer just about dull routines, it's the pain of feeling left behind. A wife may long for shared experiences and new adventures. But if her partner isn't evolving alongside her, if he doesn't share in her dreams, she may feel completely alone, even within the marriage itself. So what can we do to reconnect? The key lies in understanding and shared growth. Encourage your wife to explore new passions, not just housework, but her personal interests and dreams. Sometimes reinventing ourselves within the marriage can awaken a new kind of love, one that both of you crave. So the reasons why women feel distant and resentful aren't always dramatic or sudden. In fact, they're often small shifts we fail to notice, seemingly minor things that deeply impact the relationship. These little reasons, strung together, create a pattern of exhaustion and feeling misunderstood. But here's the good news. Every issue can be resolved if we're willing to notice, to share, and to change. So how do we keep the flame of love alive and make our marriage feel fresh and joyful again? Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. Have you seen any of these signs in your relationship? We truly look forward to hearing your stories and feedback so we can continue bringing meaningful videos to support you. Dear friend, when you enter a long-term relationship, love is no longer just about romantic dates or sweet nothings in the early months. The feeling of being loved and cared for isn't always as obvious when daily life, responsibilities, and stress start to take over. Those early years of a relationship are often filled with affectionate gestures. From quick hugs, from golden memories to gentle kisses, from caring questions like, "Have you eaten yet?" to compliments about each other's appearance. These were once the sweet details that filled the early days of love. But as time passes, those gestures tend to fade, slowly disappearing. This is the story of many women. Love gradually withers away, and affection begins to feel like a luxury. I remember a story from a dear friend whom I deeply respect. She shared with me what her married life was like after several years. In the beginning, they made an effort to keep the romance alive with candlelit dinners, spontaneous getaways, and loving gestures. But as work, children, and other responsibilities took up their time, those tender moments began to vanish. She said, "I remember in the early days, we used to hug every night and whisper sweet words to each other, even about the tiniest things. But now, it's not like that anymore. When we sit together on the couch, he's buried in his phone, and I feel like I'm sitting next to a roommate, not my life partner." Her words stirred something deep in me, a strange sadness. But it's also a feeling I know many women experience in long-term marriages. When we fall in love, everything feels easy. Warm hugs, unexpected kisses, and soft, loving words are the threads that hold the relationship together. But as life shifts, love can start to feel like a burden. A woman is often expected to juggle work, family, and still maintain the relationship. When she no longer feels loved or cared for the way she once did, the exhaustion creeps in. And without tenderness, love in marriage starts to feel empty. You might wonder, how can something so simple become such a serious issue? The lack of affection isn't a small problem. It's a reflection of a deeper absence of attention, connection, and understanding. Love isn't just spoken through words, it's expressed through the smallest acts that hold immense meaning. A gentle hand squeeze, a tight hug after a long day, or a few kind words when your partner is struggling at work. These gestures are not just signs of affection. They're the building blocks of trust, empathy, and closeness. Once, I was talking to a friend who had been married for many years. She shared that one of the things that made her feel sad and lonely in her marriage was when her husband no longer showed care like he used to. "He doesn't hug me in the mornings anymore. We no longer sit and talk about the little things. There are no more date nights just for the two of us to be together." She wasn't complaining, just gently sharing. And yet, what she described is something many women feel in long-term marriages. They're not asking for too much. Just a little affection, a small sign that they still matter. But when those things disappear, they begin to feel invisible, no longer someone special in their partner's life. Affection in marriage is the invisible thread that ties two hearts together. When that thread begins to fray, you might start to feel like you're no longer a priority in your partner's life. For many women, love isn't just expressed through "I love you," but through actions that show genuine care. Hugs, compliments, and tender gestures help them feel seen, cherished, and valued. These acts not only rekindle romance but also sustain a deep emotional bond. Think back to the early days of your relationship. Long conversations, endless affection, and the feeling that you couldn't bear to be apart. But as the years go by, those things tend to fade. That's a sign your relationship needs care and attention. Start with the little things. Hold hands during a walk, give a comforting hug when your partner is stressed, or offer a compliment when they try their best. These small gestures can warm the heart and help you realize that love is not automatic. It must be nurtured every day. Work, children, and life's daily demands can drain your energy, but don't let them steal away the affection in your marriage. Make time each day to show your partner you care. Sometimes a hug for no reason, a hand to hold during a walk, or a word of praise for something they did that day. These can spark a positive change in your relationship. Remember, love is something we must feed daily. It doesn't just stay strong on its own. I remember talking to a woman who had been married for 30 years. She told me that although they were both busy, they always made time for each other. We don't go out like we did when we were young, but every night after the kids are asleep, we sit together, sip tea, and talk. It's simple, but that's how we keep the flame alive. Small actions, yes, but they hold great power in keeping a relationship strong. So start with what's simple, because those little things can create a big difference in your marriage. And when you feel love in every gesture, you'll realize that love never truly fades, no matter how much time has passed. One of the most painful feelings many women experience in long-term marriages is becoming a given in their husbands' lives. Over time, love and care seem to fade, replaced by indifference. Affection, appreciation, and effort disappear. Everything a wife does, caring for the family, managing the household, supporting her husband through life's challenges, slowly becomes something that's simply expected. And because of that, she no longer feels valued in the relationship. That feeling of being taken for granted pushes her into a quiet corner of the marriage, a place where she feels forgotten. A friend of mine, a single mother after many years of marriage, once shared her feelings with me. I spent my whole life caring for the family, the kids, my husband. I worked tirelessly, but in the end, I realized no one noticed how hard I worked. He never said thank you. He never told me I was doing a good job. When he forgot my birthday altogether, I knew then I was just part of a never-ending checklist. I was no longer important in his life. Her words made me pause. In marriage, when love is no longer expressed through affection, appreciation, and recognition, we can easily begin to feel like we are an essential part of someone's life, yet not truly cherished. That feeling is what can break a heart. It gradually becomes dull, lifeless, and in the end, a woman may feel like she's been taken for granted, no different from the household chores she does every day. In the early days of marriage, it's easy to show love through actions, words of affection, and appreciation. But as things become routine, those loving gestures begin to fade. They no longer see each other as they once did. Everything becomes ordinary, and love no longer seems like a priority. A husband might think that since his wife has been doing all these things for years, she'll just keep doing them without needing acknowledgement or appreciation. However, for the wife, this lack of recognition becomes a deep wound. The feeling of no longer being important makes her feel lonely, exhausted, and eventually drains her motivation to keep going. Another friend of mine, also married for many years, told me she felt the same way. She said that when their relationship became normal, she gradually began to feel unseen. I've taken care of everything in the house, always making sure things run smoothly, but he never once thanked me. Even when I was tired from doing housework, he would just say, "Just keep doing it," and never asked if I needed a break. That's when I realized I was no longer the woman he loved. I had become nothing more than a housemaid. Remember, love doesn't last forever on its own. It needs to be nurtured with the smallest and most sincere actions. A hug, a look, a timely thank you. These can be the lifeline that saves a relationship drifting apart. Have you ever found yourself in a similar situation? Have you ever done something to help your partner feel loved again? Or do you have any advice on how to change things for the better? Share your story or your perspective in the comments below. Your experience might just be the light someone else needs to find their way out of the silence in their marriage. It's not the household chores that she complains about, but the lack of recognition. When a wife feels she's being taken for granted, she loses the motivation to continue caring and loving. That's when the connection between husband and wife begins to unravel, and the relationship slowly loses its warmth. Acknowledgement and gratitude don't have to be grand. Sometimes a simple thank you each time your wife does something can be enough to make her feel valued. These words aren't just about appreciating her tasks. They're powerful expressions of love and care. When a wife feels that her efforts are seen and appreciated, love continues to grow. When both partners appreciate each other, even for the smallest actions, the relationship remains fresh and strong. A thank you can make a huge difference. It helps a wife feel loved and more connected to her partner. To avoid becoming invisible in each other's lives, couples need to take time to recognize what the other is doing. A word of thanks after household chores, a compliment for your partner's efforts. These simple things can go a long way in keeping the emotional connection alive. Always remember, love isn't automatic. It needs daily care and attention. Never let the lack of appreciation blur the love and connection in your marriage. Finally, a friend who's been married for over 25 years once told me how she and her husband learned to recognize each other again after many years. We had become so used to one another that we thought thank yous were no longer necessary. But after talking it through, I realized that small phrases like, "Thank you for making dinner," or "I really appreciate you always being there for me," made our love so much stronger. Gratitude and appreciation are the most important keys to sustaining our relationship. Start with sincere gratitude every day. That alone can help you maintain love and connection in a long-term marriage. Have you ever felt this way in your own relationship? The feeling of being taken for granted can appear in any relationship if we don't become aware and take action. Don't hesitate to share your thoughts in the comments. I truly look forward to hearing your reflections on these matters. As time passes, life begins to change, and sometimes so does the relationship. What once felt close and full of love can slowly become a sense of unavoidable distance. A wife may feel like she's no longer a cherished partner, but simply a piece of her husband's daily routine. Conversations lose depth, evenings lose romance, and all that remains are brief exchanges about chores, work, or family issues. The way they see each other begins to change. The wife no longer sees her husband as her loving protector, but as a stranger who happens to live under the same roof. A friend of mine, after 25 years of marriage, shared this with me. She said, "I don't feel anything special when I look at my husband anymore. Sometimes I wonder, how did we end up like this? We no longer talk about dreams or plans for the future. Every time I try to bring up something important, he just stays quiet or gives me short, uninterested answers. I've even asked myself, am I still living with my husband or just a roommate?" Her story made me think deeply about love in long-term marriages. Sometimes we assume that relationships can sustain themselves without effort. But when we stop sharing moments, feelings, and future plans, love begins to fade, leaving behind a growing distance that's hard to bridge. This doesn't happen overnight. It's the result of small, unnoticed shifts that build up over time. In the beginning, everything felt new and exciting. We talked often, shared even the smallest details of our day, and dreamed together. But as life settles, that same stability can blur the relationship. Routines, chores, and responsibilities keep both partners so busy that they forget to nurture emotional intimacy. When we stop caring about each other's feelings, when we stop sharing our thoughts and desires, the relationship becomes just a list of duties to check off, not a bond filled with love and connection. This sense of distance often begins with the smallest things, like no longer making time for each other, no longer talking about dreams, or simply no longer paying attention to each other's emotions. Gradually, each person starts living in their own separate world, and love is no longer the central force that holds the relationship together. My friend continued, "I tried to open up to him, but it felt like my words didn't mean anything anymore." Maybe he felt the same way. We still live under the same roof, but those long conversations about the future, about dreams, we don't have them anymore. What's left are dull talks about money, work, and daily problems. That feeling isn't just about emotional distance. It's a sense of loss inside each person. When a woman no longer feels emotionally connected to her partner, she begins to feel unimportant in his life. And that doesn't just make her sad. It makes her question whether she's wasting her time, whether the relationship is still worth continuing. To avoid falling into this state, it's crucial for both partners to actively maintain emotional connection, no matter how long they've been together. Emotional distance can't be fixed overnight, but you can start with small steps to refresh the relationship. Spend time together, not just doing chores or taking care of the kids, but talking, sharing thoughts, feelings, and plans for the future. An open, heartfelt conversation about your hopes and dreams can help you rediscover the connection that may have been forgotten for too long. Remind each other of the beautiful memories, of the reasons you chose one another in the first place, so you don't forget the foundation that made your relationship so special. Another friend of mine, after 15 years of marriage, managed to reconnect with her husband simply through small conversations. We had slowly lost our connection, but when I opened up and shared how I was feeling about the distance between us, he listened. We started planning little trips together again, spending evenings just talking about the past, the present, and the future. Slowly, things began to change. Not because we did anything big, but because we remembered why we fell in love and why we got married in the first place. Start with the little conversations. Whether it's after dinner or during a quiet afternoon, talk about what really matters to you. It will help refresh your relationship, keeping love and connection alive for a lifetime. As we've seen, marriage isn't always smooth. Over time, love can fade for reasons so small we don't even notice. But don't forget, love needs to be nurtured every day through affection, gratitude, and genuine care from both sides. Don't let distance, lack of recognition, or emotional disconnection slowly erode the bond between you and your partner. Love in marriage doesn't happen automatically. It's a constant process of learning, understanding, and sharing. And no matter how busy life gets, if both spouses make an effort and truly value each other, love will always stay fresh and strong. So how can you restore love in your marriage? Start with yourself. Be the one to initiate change. Be the one to offer love and care through your actions. Only when both people do this can the relationship come back to life and grow stronger than before. If you realize there's something you can do to improve your relationship, start today. Share your thoughts on this topic in the comments below and let me know what you feel needs to change. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Don't forget to hit like if you found this message helpful and subscribe to receive more videos that inspire and support your life. It's never too late to restore love, and it's always worth the effort. Start today so that with each passing day, you and your partner can feel deeper love and a stronger connection.